The Prime Minister receives his second jab. The government's moving one step closer to tabling the marijuana bill, and a number of trade unions form a voting bloc. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Monday, May 10th. Second doses of the COVID-19 vaccine currently underway at all vaccination centers. The National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee also noting that first doses also continue. The administration of the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine taking place at the Kendall G. Isaacs Gymnasium, where the Prime Minister received his second jab.
So now the second dose means that I don't need the test anymore to travel from there. So I'm very happy about that.
Vaccine appointments to receive the second dose began on Sunday as the vaccine committee reminds the public that the date of your second dose appointment should be no fewer than 7 weeks after the date of your first appointment. If your first appointment was made at a walk-up center like Church of God of Prophecy on East Street or St. Anselm's Church Hall, you are asked to please return to the same center to receive your second dose at the appropriate minimum 7-week interval. On Saturday, the 15th of May, persons at high risk to have an allergic reaction to the COVID-19 vaccine may receive the vaccine at the Princess Margaret Hospital. This will allow for enhanced medical observation following the administration of the vaccine. Appointments may be made starting Tuesday, May 11th. Now, to those that were hesitant about taking the second dose because of side effects from the first, the Prime Minister says this.
Know that we vaccinate our babies. It's not unusual when baby receives a vaccination. It's not unusual that baby cries. Sometimes baby may be crying for 4 hours. Occasionally babies may have fever also. Unfortunately, baby can't talk as opposed to us. So the babies may have had a reaction. We had no concern about it. So again, it's basically harmless. In fact, it is harmless. And just like how the babies may have had a reaction related to the vaccination that they received, so can we, but it's harmless.
All persons wanting to take the vaccine, whether first dose or second dose, you're asked to make an appointment online at vax.gov.bs. Bahamian citizens and permanent residents 18 years of age or over remain eligible to take the COVID-19 vaccine. To date, more than 36,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have been administered in the Bahamas. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis responding to his administration's critics this afternoon off the heels of receiving that second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
We came in year one. We were faced with Hurricane Irma. Year two, and we inherited a disastrous economy. Year two, we were faced with Dorian. Year three, 1 and 4, we were faced with COVID. In other words, we had 3 challenges, so we had to decide whether you just stop and deal with catastrophic problems, or are you a true government and run 2 parallel tracks. One track to deal with the catastrophic problems that we face, and another track to still move the country forward.
Add to that, he says his government wanted to ensure that every Bahamian is entitled to partake in what's termed the Bahamian Dream, a 4-phase plan executed by Dr. Minnis's administration addressing free education, land, and home ownership.
We were successful in terms of implementing a vaccination program. We managed what we thought was the COVID pandemic that we've seen throughout the world, and now we're slowly opening up our economy. I've had discussion with some of the medical professionals already, and there's a possibility, I'm not saying that it will happen, there's a possibility that all family islands, excluding New Providence and Grand Bahama, will have the curfew removed.
The Prime Minister adds that the government's also advancing the National Health Program and upgrading health infrastructure throughout the family islands.
And we're introducing telemedicine again, which we started in 2007, 2008, when I was the Minister of Health, and which the previous government, the Christy Davis government, dismantled. We started in 2008. They dismantled it. What COVID did? COVID put it on a fast track, not only for us, but for the rest of the world. So we are well on our way in spite of the challenge, in spite of losing 3 years.
Today marks the 4th anniversary of the FNM's election victory back in 2017. The government is currently in the process of making amendments to complete the medical marijuana bill. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis recently giving the media an update on where the government stands, as he says they are only moving on medicinal marijuana. Dr. Minnis also noting that he hopes to have the bill in Parliament in the coming weeks.
We're presently attempting to complete the medicinal marijuana bill, and I'm hoping we can have that in Parliament within a matter of weeks. I was hoping that we would have had it there last week. Unfortunately, there are several amendments here made. But I think Cabinet has decided that individuals who were charged for a minor amount of marijuana, we would just move and have their records globally expunged. These are young people who are prohibited from traveling abroad, advancing their life, employment, etc. So we make a global decision and protect that group.
It was back in February this year when the Prime Minister first made the announcement that the government was working on approving medical marijuana in the Bahamas. The Bahamas National Commission on Marijuana made at least 24 recommendations to the government back in 2020, which included the legalization of medicinal marijuana and to allow individuals prescribed medical cannabis to grow sufficient plants for their use, to allow for tourists who are prescribed medical cannabis in their countries to obtain it in the Bahamas, and to allow the importation of regulated cannabis products for ailments, stopping short of recommending the legalization of recreational marijuana. Another recommendation from the Commission was decriminalization of possession of up to an ounce of the substance. Dr. Minnis reiterating that at this point, the government is only considering medicinal marijuana and the expungement of records of persons who were charged with being in possession of a small amount of the drug. Now united as one labor movement, more than 20 labor unions that fall under the umbrella of either the National Trade Congress of Trade Unions or the Bahamas Trade Union Congress are now forming themselves into what could be a substantial voting bloc. On Monday, leaders of the various unions attended a press conference where they released a 5-page document called the Workers' Agenda. The document has 13 main points of interest to benefit workers and improve working conditions. TUC President Obie Ferguson says members of the United Labor Unions are working together so as to have more influence in the coming general election.
We're going to make sure that all of our members are registered. That's an obligation. This is the most consequential election we will see for a very long time. And if we miss this without getting some commitment in writing and follow up, the trade union movement would revert back to pre-1958.
Attorney Ferguson says in many cases, both the Industrial Tribunal and the Department of Labor have been rendered toothless. According to Mr. Ferguson, the United Labor Movement's first mission on their agenda is to have the sandals matter resolved. He described it as a benchmark on the way forward in regards to the impact and effect of trade unions.
I mean, that's an economic issue, that's a serious issue. And we have maintained that the work permits should be reserved for Bahamians only where there are special skills that you can't find locally, should there be an attempt to find employment outside the country. But we strongly believe that Bahamians has to become leaders and controllers in their own country. We are not. We are just consumers.
Ferguson says to their dismay, both the past and current administration took steps to help block the union's legal efforts to assist the 600 workers at Sandals. He says the unions will ask any new government to solve the outstanding Sandals matter within the first 100 days. Union members will be encouraged to vote for those that endorse and sign off on the labor union's agenda. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.